to figure out why YouTube is not working.
All right, you go do that, and I will take care. Don't worry, to Pardes' viewers, I will take good care of you. Hopefully, Pardes doesn't, like fall down the stairs or something. So, okay, so she asked me to basically explain the situation. Here's what basically happened. Over the last couple of weeks, a reporter at Vox has been, and someone said Ford who? My name is Ford Fischer, Ford Fischer. She tagged me in the caption of this video. For the last couple of weeks, a reporter at Vox named Carlos Maza has been saying that he is unhappy that Steven Crowder, who is sort of a he considers himself to be a conservative comedian. He's kind of a late night host, sort of on his own independent channel on YouTube. And this Vox reporter had pointed out that Steven Crowder had said many things about him that he deemed to be sort of bullying. And he was encouraging YouTube in a very public way to censor Steven Crowder as a result of it, to take the videos down or something like that. And ultimately, this created a little bit of a PR issue for YouTube, who responded by, on Wednesday, telling the mainstream media in what appears to be an embargoed press release, basically telling them that that they would be changing the community standards and that a number of channels would be taken down. Someone just said, "Is anybody out there from YouTube?"
Oh, YouTube! Woo!
Does that mean the YouTube
yes!
part's working?
Yes!
But it says live stream offline.
But it's working.
So the chat's working, but maybe just give them the link to so that those people know where it is. Hey, we
are here.
Anyway, the embargo, somebody asked embargo. Okay, so what that means is YouTube clearly told the media and then told them don't write about this or don't publish about this until basically Wednesday afternoon at about 1 p.m. And so on Wednesday at 1 p.m., basically YouTube's new changes kicked in. And what that caused was that Steven Crowder was demonetized, but a number of other channels were either demonetized or had their content deleted, or the entire channels were outright deleted, and this affected many of them. And so among them was mine. I had 2 videos that were deleted, and my entire channel was demonetized. I cover content on YouTube. I cover basically activism. I cover political activism and political extremism, where I go out to events and I just film them. It's totally raw. It has very little of me really as a character or as a voice in it. It's just raw footage that just sort of shows you what happens. And because of character or as a voice in it. Oh, it worked. Okay, yes. All right. It looks like Pardes' YouTube people are here. So to wrap up the story, YouTube basically, in the midst of this community standards change, they killed a bunch of different people's outlets. In my case, they deleted 2 videos and they demonetized the entire channel. I cover content that I cover people doing activism that can be controversial and difficult to watch in some cases, but it is obviously not itself hateful content. It's covering people who are hateful for that, in the eyes of YouTube. It is obviously not itself hateful. I'm hearing her watch the video on YouTube to show that it works, so that's why you're double hearing me. They did not offer any ability to appeal. The email says that they carefully looked through the channel and that was their decision. And I have the opportunity to reapply in a month. And that they are hoping that I will go through my own channel and delete things and adjust things in order to make the channel consistent with their community standards. But they haven't told me what exact content they consider to be bad or wrong or sort of unacceptable. So frankly, I'm not really willing to do that kind of self-censorship. I'm trying to stir up a storm in the media. I was interviewed by Rolling Stone, published about this. Breitbart had me on the radio and published about this. Forbes wrote about me on this. Washington Examiner did a pretty good profile on me as well. So I've been just trying to raise hell about this until YouTube realizes that they messed up and they fix it. So
it's really unfortunate because Ford's content is objectively good. Like, he's always on the scene of every single major thing that's happening.
I just saw one of the comments. Someone I'm not going to repeat what they wrote, but someone asked, did I cover a transgender issue in a negative light? No, I've covered issues relating to tons of things, including activism pertaining to transgender healthcare, for example. But all of it is just raw footage. I film people, I see what they're about, and I publish. This is what these guys are about. This is what those guys are about. And if two sides show up to a situation, I try to talk to both of them. What do you think? Why do you think the other side's wrong? Why are you out here doing this? So, you know, I don't think my content should be really offensive to anybody. People can be offended by the things that people say to me, but my content isn't endorsing anything. I don't think that my content in and of itself can be offensive because my content doesn't make commentary.
Yeah, I mean, his content is he's always the first on the scene. Anything major that's happening, he's always there, first person, and he's filming. And he's very quick. He's much quicker than traditional media companies, because those people are like coming in with all their packs and all their people, and they have to like go through all these different steps. But he's always there, and he like hears through the grapevine what's happening, because it's just him. He's independent, so like he's always the first one on the scene, and I can see why that would be like a threat. Like a business, you know, not political. And they use, I feel like, this is my opinion. Do you feel like this? Do you feel like the politics is just an excuse?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been pointing out to a lot of people that I don't think that this is really a particularly left-right issue. I could point out tons of examples of how the left is hurt by this a lot. I think it's actually the people who really stand to gain from demonetization and censorship of independent media. It's not that the left does, which I think is the narrative that a lot of people are pushing right now. It's that the mainstream does.
Yeah.
When someone can watch either Fox News or CNN just sort of give you two talking heads arguing about a thing that happened, or you can just watch raw footage of the thing that happened and come up with your own ideas, which is what I present. For free. Then those people are going to watch my content and not CNN or Fox. And so both CNN and Fox probably have something to gain by seeing my content going down. Right, and yeah, my content is produced relatively inexpensively. I sometimes say, you know, my Patreon subscribers can give me as little as $2 a month, and it's not an abstraction that $2 a month actually, like, helps. Sometimes I'll go to a situation by bus. I mean, literally, it can cost me $4 to cover a local event in Washington, D.C.
Wow. Damn. Hey, you know how much these Fox News anchors, and a lot of these different, like, TV anchors...
How much money they make?
They make an insane amount.
I don't doubt it.
Millions and millions and millions and millions.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. The big mainstream media is really a totally different operation than indie media, but a lot of people are saying, you know, oh, there are other options. And live stream and raw footage news it's not aggregated clickbait, right? It's real news. So there is independent media that looks like that. There's a lot of like crappy independent media, to be honest, right? Where someone just reads a mainstream news story and they just sort of recycle it. They just like word it differently and then repost it. But content that is original, right? Yeah. The two of us talking might be more interesting than watching like Anderson Cooper and Rick Santorum talk to each other about something, right? Yeah. Like to people who find us more interesting, like we don't need, you know, this is an iPhone on a little tripod.
On a stand that someone gave me as a gift. Someone gave it to me as a gift because I'm too cheap to buy it myself.
So, right, okay, so there you go. So this whole setup, everything you're watching on here, very well might have cost like, you know, under $1,000 to put together, and they're probably spending $1,000 per second, like for like to broadcast Anderson Cooper or something.
Because the phone was also like an upgrade.
Okay, all right. Oh, we'll need the receipts. Let's we have to factor in tax.
I'm just just trying to brag at this point.
But you get our point, that it threatens the mainstream media when you can relatively inexpensively create content that is equally or more engaging and equally or more accurate than the mainstream media, frankly, as live stream is. Live stream and raw footage cannot lie. When you watch one of my live streams, literally, like, it cannot be fake news. You can choose to like or dislike what you see on it, but it's real.
Yeah.
And
it's like a window.
It's just a window into the world. You're just seeing what I see, right? I think that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, and live streams are the future. There's nothing more real than a live stream. Like, unless the next thing is, like, hologram. So, like, it's like you're in it.
Yeah, that you just, like...
Like a hologram live stream, so, like, you're in whatever is happening. So, like, Ford is going to place, and he's filming it, and you're, like, actually there.
360 live stream does exist already. I actually own a 360 camera. I've found that most people don't find it too accessible to use. But, like, your iPhone can play it. It is, like, possible, but it just depends on which app you're on and that kind of thing. But basically, yeah, I did a video once at, in front of the White House where some people were smoking weed as a form of protest against the marijuana laws that Obama didn't, legalize marijuana, even though he said he would. So these people were smoking pot in front of the White House. And what I did is I had a 360 camera. It just looks like a stick, right? I held it up, and I filmed people smoking weed, and when I sort of rendered and processed it and whatever, and I stuck it onto Facebook, you can actually watch this video, and when you turn your phone around different ways, like, you see each direction around it. So you can see everything, and you can even literally, you can turn it around and look at me, right, filming it.
So cool.
Which is really cool. So these technologies are changing, and they absolutely threaten cable news. They absolutely threaten the livelihood of the mainstream media giants, and as it should. You know how much
it costs for every show, for every single guest to do their makeup? Like, for every single guest who comes in and gets their makeup done, you know how much it costs? $500. Even if you're a guy.
Really?
Yeah, even if you're a guy and all they have to do is put powder on your face.
So I went on air on Fox once, and I definitely didn't feel like that was $500 of powder. Yeah. I felt very celebrity, there's.
Yeah, that costs $500.
Right, but that was not a $500 makeup job.
And sometimes you'll be there. Like, it happened to me one time where I was, and actually Ford worked for Fox. I keep forgetting.
Someone just said they aren't responding to comments. How dare you? We are responding to comments.
We are. We're reading all your comments.
We're reading them. You just have to give good comments, and we'll answer them. So, when Sean wrote LOL, it's what do you want us to do? Just be like, ha ha ha, thank you for saying LOL. Someone said CNN is failing miserably. Okay. What if they refuse to get makeup? Then they tie you down and force you into a chair and put powder on your face. No, I'm sure they would have let me on air even if I didn't do it.
But no one
so it's LOL, please respond in all caps. Okay, wait, here's a real thing. Ford, how do you avoid getting your head kicked in or camera smashed by protesters? I would love to do something similar in UK, but would be afraid of being attacked. That's a good question.
Felix is from the UK, and I actually met Felix in the street while I was in London.
That's cool.
Literally bumped into him on the street, and he's like, "Hey, Pardes." And he was right.
These comments are crazy. Someone wrote, "Eat each other's boogers." What the hell is wrong with you people? That's enough internet for today. Shut it down. No, okay. I want to answer the question though from the guy in the UK, because that's a good question.
Yeah.
Someone said Trump doesn't need much makeup. He's naturally beautiful.
Answer Felix's question.
Felix asked, "What do I do about I've covered thousands of protests. How do I stay safe at them?" So first of all, I don't. I've gotten hurt several times. When I was in Charlottesville, I was injured in a few ways that were that totally healed within a week. But I did get some burns from mace, and I did take a flagpole to the neck that hurt for a while. But
and he got mace in his eyes.
Yeah, and I've been maced in my eyes a few times with cops and protesters, really on both sides. And actually, one situation that turned pretty, I don't want to say famous or notorious, but a lot of people talked about when it happened, is I covered a fight between Antifa and the Proud Boys that happened in Providence, Rhode Island. And Antifa poured a bottle of urine on me when that was going on, and a lot of people wrote about that. Look, I mean, the thing that I do is I'm
That's
out
really
there.
Gross. Who's
it
urine?
Was really gross. I don't know, because I do know that that stores sell coyote urine to repel deer and stuff. So it might not have even been human urine. Someone said wear body armor. So I wear bulletproof vests when I'm going to situations with two sides that are both armed. So I wore the vest in Charlottesville. I've worn it, in Arkansas. I went to a situation. Someone said, if you had a gun with you, could you? I don't carry a gun, but I wear protective gear at some of these things. I wear a helmet. Sometimes I wear a vest, and I carry a med pack with me. I wore all those things in France, by the way, where during the Yellow Vest riots, people were throwing, grenades and such, and someone lost their hand about 50 feet away from me. So, it's what it's what I sometimes have to do. But I think the main thing is just being really clear that you're press, right? So I don't hide amidst the crowd. I am wearing, a badge like this. My bulletproof vest says press across it. The helmet says TV on it, and I'm carrying a big giant camera.
Every time I see Ford, he's wearing this badge. Even right now, he's here and he's wearing this badge.
I don't really go out without it. If someone sees me and I'm not wearing it, it's probably because I'm wearing my backpack and it's in the backpack. So if I go somewhere like here, I didn't need my backpack full of equipment or laptop or anything. So like when I came here, I just wear it. And it's because news can happen anywhere. I've had so many situations where I'm out just like doing something and then I get like a call that says like, oh, there's like this, crazy thing that's about to happen, right? Like, actually recently, Cassandra, right? This was like a month ago.
Was this a Venezuela thing?
No, before that. Before that.
Was it like the Julian Assange thing?
It was over Assange. So Assange was arrested, and someone said, "Get over yourself, Ford."
Get over yourself, Ford.
I'm sorry.
Stop talking about yourself.
Anyway, stop. How dare I answer questions that people are asking me? Cassandra Fairbanks told me that
about a different Ford Fischer.
There's a protest that I was not aware of. I was in Arlington, and Cassandra tells me, "Hey, the president of Ecuador is like at this event, and there's this guy who wants to protest him. You should be here to like film it." And so like I didn't have time to go home and get my camera. I just came and used my iPhone, right? So that's why I kind of have it all the time. Someone said the ego on this guy. Okay. When is she going to cut her hair? You got a haircut like 4 days ago, right?
Yeah, but I didn't cut it too short, and it's all of your fault because you told me to not cut it too short. Otherwise,
I did.
Huh?
I did.
Did you?
You just said because you did, or do you mean you, the people?
The people.
The people have spoken.
Every single person, like not a single person said I should get a haircut. They're all like, "No, don't cut your hair."
Do you let people on the internet tell you what to do with your hair?
Yeah.
That's funny.
You don't?
No.
I'm kidding. Okay, so El Punket wants us to fix the light, but it's not really fit. This is a style. Guys, this is the style of my lights. It's like modern.
Does that one turn on, the bulb there?
It does, but I don't like it.
But you don't. Okay.
You want me to turn it on?
Let's just see. Yeah, I feel like it might help because it's lower. Like if we don't have the...
You don't like the lighting here?
I do, but the people have... You let the people choose your haircut.
No. They said fix these lights.
These lights? All right, to the people who are watching, what lights are we bothered by?
It's literally just one person. Okay.
Whatever. Someone said diet blonde. I do not agree. The little one behind you, pull it down. Oh, there's...
Oh, this one!
Is this the problem?
Oh my god!
Did we fix it? There's one bulb in the wrong direction. We fixed it. All right. Okay, all of you guys, shut your freaking faces. This is done. Okay, someone said, please forget the lights.
Just
oh my god. Okay. Do we want to talk about big tech censorship again?
Yes.
That's why I'm here.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about
Okay. Look, all right, here's a good starting place. Let's test some of the people are like, finally, okay. So my whole channel was demonetized and they took down 2 videos. And the 2 videos they took down were, okay, so I think that this will be kind of illuminating. In one of the videos, I was covering APAC, right, the American-Israel Political Conference. It's a conference that deals with the United States-Israeli relationship. And there were people who came waving Palestinian flags and so on, right, counter-protesting the conference on the basis of what they see as Palestinian rights and oppression of Palestinian people by Israel. And so those people showed up saying, free Palestine and such. And the Israel people came out and were saying, we have a right to a homeland and saying that Palestinians, have a terrorism problem and so forth. So having the debate that you might expect on that. And then a guy showed up who is basically a Holocaust denier, right? And he started spewing his opinion And both sides came together and started telling this guy, you are wrong. They start confronting this Holocaust denier. Both the pro-Israel and the pro-Palestine people came together to go after this Holocaust denier. And I put out a raw video of that entire situation. It was maybe 12 minutes. It was just raw footage, beginning to end, of that conversation where both of these two sides were confronting him. And the headline was, Holocaust denier, and then whatever the dude's name is. Apparently he's sort of well-known in conspiracy sphere or something. Holocaust denier, whatever his name is, confronted by activists. And so this was not obviously content that in itself was denying the Holocaust. It was content that dealt with a Holocaust denier and showed people confronting him. And so YouTube is clearly misrepresenting or misunderstanding its own rules or misapplying them by taking down content that covers a Holocaust denier, not realizing the difference between that and Holocaust denial content. The other video that they took down during the Vox Adpocalypse and apparently sort of justified demonetizing the entire channel for was I filmed a series of speeches at a rally 2 months before Charlottesville happened. So this is June 25th of 2017. I would encourage people to research this moment because, in my opinion, and I have shared this belief with many researchers and documentarians who talk about it, that in my opinion, this rally that happened about 2 months before Charlottesville is the reason that Charlottesville happened. There was a rally in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., where there was a series of speakers, and they were basically the same people who were supposed to speak in Charlottesville. It was Christopher Cantwell, Richard Spencer, to people who are aware of who these people are. And the speech that they took down was Mike Enoch, and he basically made, I guess what you might say are typical talking points of the alt-right, like claiming that diversity represents a threat to white people or, that kind of thing. That speech was used, parts of my video of that speech was used in the documentary called Charlottesville that was produced by PBS that I associate produced. And Martin Luther King III spoke at the premiere of it. So clearly this content has news, history, and analysis purpose. It's not content that is meant to be out there to spread the ideas of the alt-right. The alt-right films their own things. The alt-right puts their own stuff out. The purpose of me documenting these things is to show the actual thing that happens so that people can research it and understand where things are coming from. I don't have to take a position on anything that I film. I film normal politics, I film far left, I film far right, I film anarchist, I film the opposite, right? In every single direction, I kind of cover everything, and YouTube seems not to understand that distinction between content that covers things that they deem hateful and hateful content.
So when they told you that, when they sent you the 2 videos, they said it's because of these videos?
Well, they didn't technically write it's because of these 2 videos. What happened is simultaneously with the release of news of what we now call the Vox Adpocalypse, they took down those 2 videos at the same moment, and then 6 minutes later they sent an email saying, we've carefully reviewed your channel and decided that that your channel is no longer eligible for monetization, so we've demonetized the entire channel. And again, to be clear, I'm actually kind of okay with individual videos being demonetized based on what content is in them, right? When I go out and I film the violence in Charlottesville, for example, and publish that, I understand why YouTube would not want, DiGiorno's pizza. Would you like to eat a DiGiorno's pizza tonight? It'll, only take 30 minutes to bake, and it's tasty, and it's just like delivery. Eat DiGiorno's. And then you will see, this, violence between people, on the streets. I get why YouTube wants to demonetize individual videos based on content. I think that they are misinformed to have that be such a automated process where they're doing it based on keywords. But I basically am okay with the idea of individual videos being demonetized when we're talking about news. But to demonetize the entire channel is ridiculous. I also have videos of literally just Nancy Pelosi. It's just a speech. It says, I have one video that literally it's just called Nancy Pelosi condemns Brett Kavanaugh. And it's just literally a speech that I filmed Nancy Pelosi give where she was explaining her opposition to Brett Kavanaugh.
How are you so calm after this?
How am I so calm? Just because I've gone through maybe like 20 or 30 of these like interviews and podcasts and stuff, I've gotten all my rage out. Like when like the first time I was like talking to like, you know, like Forbes, I was like, I'm so angry. No. You know, I've been talking about this now for a week. Yeah, burn it down. No, I'm not advocating violence. I don't actually want to burn it down. Someone says, does it stop your videos from being placed in people's feeds? So some of their censorship does. So obviously deleting my videos outright stops it from going into people's feeds. That's for sure. But some of what they've done is that they've actually made a lot of my videos 18 plus. That's been a gradual shift that's been happening. Where, for example, my footage of J20, the inauguration of Donald Trump, there were protests outside of that, and so I filmed, you know, police throwing flash grenades at them and them throwing bricks back at the cops and things like that. The violence would be considered PG if you were to watch it in a movie, maybe a very soft PG-13. YouTube made it 18 plus. It's easier to watch porn on YouTube than it is to watch some of my videos of basic activism that's just happening in Washington, D.C. or other places in the United States.
That's insane.
Or France. No.
So how did the Vox, because I actually don't understand, like, how did the Vox apocalypse start? And why did it, like, Carlos Meza called YouTube?
Well, Carlos was advocating...
Carlos Meza is the Vox reporter.
Yes. So Carlos was advocating that Steven Crowder should be penalized in a way that takes down or prevents what he saw as Steven Crowder bullying him based on his ethnicity and sexual orientation, right?
So this started because Steven Crowder was making fun of Carlos Meza?
He was making fun of Carlos Meza, who had done videos on... So Carlos Meza does videos basically about conservative media. So, like, he made a video that got a lot of attention that was about what he calls the hack gap. He makes this basic claim that journalism is supposed to be about the journalists sitting in the center, and then the political left and the political right are supposed to give the journalists information that they see as newsworthy, and then there's this idea of gatekeeping, which is that the sort of journalist is supposed to decide in a neutral fashion what is in the what actually is newsworthy. He claims that Fox News is in an in-between state. The premise of his work, the premise of his video, is that Fox News exists in this kind of in-between place between, like, the Republican Party and actual news. And so therefore Fox forces things into the news that aren't newsworthy, and the examples he uses is he claims that Benghazi and the Hillary email story were overblown and that Fox News contributed to that. I think people can, in good faith, very much criticize that premise. Not knowing that I would be involved in his controversy, I even actually replied to it with, he makes this... I understand the point he's making, but he makes this claim that the left wing has no equivalent. And he only made one sentence about that. He didn't add to that claim. And I remember replying to him, and I didn't get any reply to my reply, but I replied to him, you say that there's no equivalent on the left. Sort of, how did you determine that? Where does that belief come from? And, so it's not necessarily a premise that I actually agree with, but I think it's good that, he says his thing and someone else is supposed to basically say, I disagree, and here's why. Crowder's retort of that video included, and some other videos of his, included some comments where he refers to him as gay Mexican, and some other things that I don't want to be seen quoting on here. But you could watch it. You would easily be able to find it. Crowder says some stuff about him that, he saw as attacking him based on ethnicity and sexuality.
So because of that, he, decided to take the entire YouTube down?
Well... Carlos did not ask for other videos to be taken down. Carlos asked for action to be taken
just on
against Crowder. And what YouTube did was...
Which is still ridiculous, by the way. Someone insults you, so... Whatever. I guess a lot of guys tend to do that. Someone insulted me, so I have to take them down.
Yeah, I mean, so... The thing that I went through, honestly, is after Charlottesville, when I filmed Charlottesville, there was actually a YouTuber who made 10 videos that were an hour each, claiming that I was in on it and that I'm CIA and that the entire event was some kind of deep state false flag to take down Donald Trump by making him look bad, but he basically claimed that like I participated in like the murder of Heather Hare. It was insane and very like really hurtful.
Wait, who said this?
A YouTuber who has since deleted his or made private his own videos called Son of Nemo. Not that I should be. Will you fix the light by Ford Shoulder? Stop caring about the lighting. Who like, just.
It's that one.
Ignore it.
I know it's that one.
No, I'll just. All right, now you can't see it. Okay. I didn't ask YouTube to take them down. I put comments on them describing basically why he's wrong, and I spoke out against him basically, and I've made fun of him a lot of times, to be honest. So I don't see the solution as censorship, and Carlos can approach it any way that he wants to. I've actually been very clear that I don't consider Carlos to be responsible. People advocate for YouTube to, deplatform this and that person all the time. I see it happen very, very, very often that people call for deplatforming. At the end of the day, it's the big tech companies that actually do it. So when YouTube screws up, when YouTube demonetizes Crowder, they demonetize me. They took down a history channel that a history teacher had. When they do that, I blame the big corporate people who make these decisions.
Why does YouTube do this? What does YouTube have to gain from banning someone like you?
Well, it's a good question. So first of all, I think in large part they did it by accident. I think that they probably rushed a rollout to make it look like they were doing something about Carlos and Steven. By the way, both Carlos and Steven have publicly spoken out specifically about yours truly, saying that that what happened to me was a mistake, right? That I was caught in the crossfire of their feud.
Good for them.
So I appreciate that both of them have spoken out in favor of me. That means a lot. Ben Shapiro has spoken out about me, and even the Atlanta chapter of Antifa said that what happened to me is BS. So this is really everybody on all sides has
and YouTube
been
still
defending
hasn't
me.
Responded?
YouTube, have you ever seen like in Anchorman, the little dog eats all the cheese and then he says, "Wow, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed." Like the fact that like so many media outlets have spoken about what happened to me and like reached out to like Rolling Stone reached out to YouTube, ABC reached out to YouTube, Washington Examiner reached out to YouTube, Forbes reached out to YouTube, all to get comment about what happened to my channel. And YouTube just didn't reply to any of them. And it's been almost a week. It's like, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed by the gall of YouTube to just straight up pretend like this isn't happening.
What?
So someone said, have you considered complaining to YouTube's Google's investor relations department? I have been tagging Team YouTube because that seems to actually be the most active Twitter profile owned by the Google Corporation on this subject. So I encourage people to tag at Team YouTube and ask them to reinstate News to Share's monetization because it's news video meant for critical analysis, right? Which is supposed to be what exempts it. YouTube's policy prevents certain types of content that it deems hateful, but it understands that news coverage that is covering that sort of stuff is not what they're going after. So what has to happen is people need to tell them you messed up, and you need to make them hear it so that they fix it. Someone asked why would they do this. So in addition to just maybe they made a mistake, I think part of the other problem is that YouTube is trying really hard to be like the new cable news, right? And so to that end, I think that they are siphoning off the independent content creators that really made YouTube what it is today, right? YouTube was built by people like Pardes and I, right? She's just she's talking about stuff. She's sitting here and talking into her phone about issues that matter to her. Yes, Pardes built YouTube herself. No, but seriously, content creators like her, people like me who film stuff and use YouTube to broadcast those things that are important for people's research and such. But YouTube doesn't see it that way anymore. Now, when you go to the movies, you see trailers for Cobra Kai, right? Is YouTube's now YouTube is trying to make television shows like Cobra. Have you seen this? You look like you have no idea what I'm talking about. There's
I saw this stupid video YouTube made about their stupid YouTube content creators, and it was like Psy, not the Gangnam Style,
Right.
and I was like, it was just, and it was like, these are our featured YouTube creators, and it's like all the lame ones that nobody.
And it's all the lame ones that are
watches.
totally like apolitical and nobody actually like cares about. You know, yeah, I mean, no, Psy is very cool. I'm happy that Gangnam Style was so popular, and actually, I think that the really funny
That was
music
like
video
10
that guy
years
did.
ago.
It was a long time ago. I actually really like the music video Gentleman, which was his like next one that came after. It was very funny.
Okay.
I would encourage people to watch it. But no, YouTube is trying to replace television. So people today, you know, I don't have, or I don't personally buy cable, right? You know, in my own room, I had like in my room of my house, I have a PlayStation 4 and I can watch YouTube on it and I can watch Netflix on it, but I actually don't have access to cable television on my television, right? And I feel like that's how a lot of our generation does it. So YouTube is trying
Most of my friends are like that, except for Purdy. You know Purdy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he has cable, but I feel like it's for his work. Does it for work.
Right, sure. And so, yeah, so certain people do it, old people do it, whatever. But YouTube is really trying to, like, flesh out this idea that you can just sort of get all of your entertainment from YouTube. So what does that cause? That causes that, you know, instead of watching Fox News, they'll put, you know, 10-minute segments of Tucker Carlson onto YouTube, and that's what people are watching. That's how people are digesting the Fox content. And so now that they have these big mainstream outlets and these big mainstream creators and actual YouTube exclusive TV shows like Cobra Kai, they are sort of starting to say, well, maybe we don't need those independent guys anymore. Maybe we don't need Pardes if Rachel Maddow is going to be doing all of her stuff on YouTube. Maybe we don't need Ford if AP and Reuters and CNN are
And so they're
are
going to
on
bring
there.
all these people to YouTube.
And so with all these people on YouTube, they are demonetizing the other content creators, which essentially is forcing them off the platform because, you know, a lot of people can't afford to make content without ad revenue. I still can, as long as people are contributing to my Patreon, frankly, right? I will survive. I will keep posting content to YouTube. If they delete my entire channel, then I'm just, you know, like, it's over, folks, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and then I just have to get a job at cable news, but that would suck. I'd hate that. I like the independence of it. I like the freedom of it. And I like my format that I think is raw and fundamentally and by definition more truthful than the mainstream media that only shows you a little part of the story. Oh, someone said, we need Pardes. Ford is okay.
I'm better. Vote.
I don't know if this person's in on this joke, but on Facebook, someone made a fan page about me called Ford Fischer is okay. And the entire joke about it is that, like, because I don't, because I don't comment on stuff, people can neither love me nor hate me because they can't agree with me because I'm not giving them something to agree with me on, but they also can't hate me. So, like, this entire fan page called Ford Fischer is okay is about how, like, he's fine. Like, he's not it's just okay.
He's fine. He's
not
tolerable.
bad. He doesn't say anything we don't like, but he doesn't really say anything at all, so we don't have
He's
a
a
chance
nice piece
to...
of furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
Ford,
he
then
even
how
agrees.
do you... okay, someone asked, this was a good question. Someone asked about government regulation of social media. So this is where the conversation is going. Right, this is a big problem. The Supreme Court really narrowly avoid addressing this subject because they don't want to talk about it, because it's a hard one. I'm on the fence. People ask me, do you think the government should force free speech regulations onto YouTube? And I really am on the fence about that because I have this sort of civil libertarian view, I guess you could say, of the way that the news media and such should work, which is that in general, news outlets hold corporations and the state accountable. Generally it's kind of this journalist versus government. The government does something wrong and the journalist shows it. I don't know that I really trust the government to fix these issues. And I also don't know that even if they were to try to fix these issues in some kind of a legislative format, such as breaking up the big tech or forcing a law on them that makes them regard free speech in a certain way, once you get the government involved, you have a situation where, I don't know that I trust the government to actually protect the speech. They might use that power that they're given to do the exact censoring that we're scared of. Someone said, why are you not verified on Twitter? That's a damn good question. I am verified on Facebook, both the News to Share page and the Twitter page.
Facebook?
I'm sorry, and the my personal page. And I'm verified on Minds, which is an alternate social media platform. I'm still not... Yes, we could talk about Minds.
Okay.
So I'm verified on a couple of social media platforms, but for some reason Twitter won't do it. So I use the hashtag #VerifyFord. Hashtag #VerifyFord. Tag me. I'm at Ford Fischer. Use that hashtag hashtag #VerifyFord. I've been pushing them on this. I'm now at 15,000 followers. My work has been used in Academy Award and Emmy-winning films. Like, I deserve a check mark.
Yeah, well...
And I'm here with Pardes. She has a check mark. Doesn't that mean, can it, spread?
I got a check mark when it was easy to get a check mark.
Yeah, that's the big problem. They made it, they messed it up, and now, there's no formal way to recognize it. Someone said good site, Ford and Subverse. Yeah, Subverse is an outlet that I license my work to, and I do exclusive kind of tellings of my stories. So I do raw footage on News to Share, but Subverse a few times has had me sort of make little documentaries. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Documentaries about those things that I've covered.
So does Facebook give you problems too?
Yes. Okay, so Facebook has had...
I would imagine Facebook has been the worst. I mean, before...
Yeah, so I know that Twitter has problems, but I'll actually say I have never myself encountered a censorship on Twitter. I actually have not had a single tweet deleted. I don't think I've ever been shadow banned.
I was put in Twitter jail one time because I told someone to eat shit. And it wasn't even political.
Yeah, well, but what if they like to eat shit? It's like a shit sandwich or something.
Yeah,
no, I just
they were like, you have to delete this tweet and also wait another 12 hours after you delete.
Yeah, so you had you had to stay the night in Twitter jail.
Yeah,
that's funny. Okay, I'll describe the issues I've had with Facebook. So first of all, I have actually the biggest following on Facebook. My News to Share page on Facebook is verified and has 60,000 followers. Yeah, so that's cool, and those followers they really like the live stream stuff, which is cool. But the problem that I've had with Facebook is twice now they've deleted live streams of mine, and one time, and this really, really bothered me, one time they deleted a live stream while I was doing it. They remotely shut down a live stream in progress, and I was like, what? So that incident was, if people are familiar with, so Charlottesville happened in August 2017, and a year later, August 2018, was Unite the Right To, the sequel to Charlottesville, and that happened in Washington, D.C. And I was one of the few journalists who was able to sort of shadow the small group of Unite the Right To rally goers the entire time, them being escorted, up the metro, walked to the White House, and then they got into a, white police van that took them to a metro station that the Antifa weren't expecting them out so that they could cart them in without them getting injured, and I wanted to live stream the entire way so that you could see who showed up, what were they saying, how did the police behave, right? The police said, for example, and the metro said, we're not giving them any kind of special treatment. I filmed them get into a police van that carted them away like a taxi, and I filmed them on the metro, literally in the metro, under the name of the line. It said special. So literally the metro had the word special, and my footage showed that. Ironically, Vox actually used my footage from that, right? So this all started because of Vox. Vox has cited me before. Facebook took down my live stream of me filming Unite the Right To, and I think they were wrong to do so for several reasons. First of all, C-SPAN was actually also there live broadcasting Unite the Right To. So, literally, I was filming exactly the same thing next to C-SPAN. So they couldn't possibly have taken objection to hit theirs and not mine, because it was essentially the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Which shows a clear bias against independent content creators. I don't think C-SPAN has any risk fundamentally of being censored, right, just because of what C-SPAN is. The other issue is, the content was used for sort of research and analysis purposes. Whether you like this organization or not, the Southern Poverty Law Center had an article that they published while that live stream was going on, and it cited my work. There's a sentence in it that said, Ford Fischer asked Jason Kessler what he thought of the people who were calling him a fascist, and then it quotes what Jason replied to me. and it links to my live stream on Facebook, and that live stream is gone. You can go to the SPLC's website, look at that article, click on that link, and Facebook has taken that live stream down.
You know, this is another thing that's crazy about censorship, about when they do it to claim that they're like, you know, for safety reasons, we're taking this down because we don't want to, you know, we don't want this bad thing, like, you know, this, we don't want Unite the Right or whatever is happening, we're taking this down. They're taking down also like evidence.
Yeah, I mean, so my footage in Charlottesville was used in the prosecution of James Alex Fields. It was also used in the prosecution of Richard Preston, which is a slightly less well-known case, but these comments, which was a slightly less well-known case, but
look into my eyes, Ford.
Yeah, someone in the commenters, which was a slightly less well-known case. It's weird. I'm talking to you guys. Pardes and I are talking to you.
He's talking to me through the camera, so like.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I actually am kind of like I see her in the viewfinder here. Anyway,
he's looking into my eyes like
my footage has been used in multiple both criminal and civil cases, and I don't take a position in those legal contests. I don't say I'm in favor of this side or that side of a legal contest, but frankly, I think it's a fundamentally American right to have footage of the thing that you are accused of if it was taken. Right? I think that's something that is good for all parties, which is why I basically advocate the use of body cameras, for example, on police officers. I think that it is good to have video in, and as uncut as possible, content, video content of legal content, anything that is talked about in a legal contest. Somebody said, what's the hat? It's News to Share. That's the name of the company.
Also, like, here's another thing. Remember the New Zealand thing that was happening?
Ooh,
and so, like,
yes.
This guy's,
that's a
live
tough one.
streaming himself going, and he's about to shoot a bunch of people in a mosque, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, like, he's doing the live stream.
Yeah.
If you share the live stream, then you can go to jail or get prosecuted, right?
In New Zealand. I mean, in the United States, that's not the case. But
if more people share the live stream, so many people's lives could have been saved.
Okay, so I'm not necessarily...
And they would have evidence.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not necessarily going to take a position on how precisely Facebook should deal with people posting videos of themselves committing acts of violence. I think that is... I think that's a uniquely difficult conversation to have. Yes, evidence is good. I'm sure that guy recording himself makes it easier to prosecute him, that they will pretty unquestionably be able to say, we have video of him doing it because he recorded himself doing it.
Also, like, they'll know where he is, they can go.
Yeah, I think at the same time, I don't know that these private companies should be obligated to host content that is from the violent person doing the violent thing. I realize why those people, why those outlets would want that taken down. What Facebook really fundamentally failed to do in that situation was actually alert law enforcement fast enough. Facebook claims that it wasn't reported to them, while the live stream was in progress, and so they couldn't have done anything differently. I have seen it claimed by Jared Holt, who is a reporter who focuses on right-wing extremism. He has claimed that he reported it to Facebook while it was happening, and that Facebook therefore is lying.
He saw it while it was happening?
So Jared says that he actually saw it while it was live, that he watched it happen while it was live. I have watched the video since then so that I could report on it on I-24. I-24 News invited me in studio, and I was in New York at the time.
Cool.
So I talked about it in studio. I talked about what the manifesto said and so forth. So we know who your father, Ford? I don't know what that comment means.
The manifesto.
This content, I think, is important for people to see so that they can analyze it. I also understand why YouTube doesn't want to broadcast that particular stuff. But I think that that's worlds apart from footage that a journalist takes of a news situation. Someone said, so Jared followed the killer. I don't know. I assume not. I'm guessing that he probably saw it because the post was on 4chan. You know, and then so it probably was shared pretty widely. He probably saw it before it ended. But I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Someone said set up your own website. I actually have my own website called newstoshare.com. And I embed my YouTube videos and my Facebook live streams and occasionally tweets onto my articles on that website. But most of my viewership really comes from YouTube, right? I mean, when I look at my YouTube analytics, I can see how many of it are coming from specific websites. And you know, it's a small fraction. It's usually less than 10% of my YouTube views that are actually happening from people going to newstoshare.com and looking at the videos. They're watching the video sometimes like that. Sometimes they're watching the video because it's embedded on MSNBC or Daily Caller or Breitbart or whatever. And sometimes they are watching it because YouTube recommended it to them. So it's all over the place. So when someone says just make your own website, I mean, I have one, but that doesn't really fix the issue. Make your own internet. Make your own planet. I should just, you know, join the Space Force, take over Mars, and, you know, build my own Facebook there.
That's like another thing, like with regard to censorship. I hear it all the time, like, you know, make your own social media site, make your own internet, make whatever, and it's so unrealistic. Like, can you really make your own internet? Technically, could there another internet be started? I guess
another entire internet. No. No, because if it's another,
it's like impossible.
No, there can't be another internet.
Technically create like wire connection system.
Yeah, you can create your own network of stuff. You could create what's called a LAN, a local access network. Someone said I watched Ford's stream of the panic at the DC Pride. Yeah, cool. Thank you for watching.
And if you're watching me, then you would be watching a stream of me filming Ford streaming.
That's true, yes. Pardes actually filmed me filming Pride. Ford looks like a teddy bear, somebody commented. Thank you. It's Zavy Baby says Ford looks like a teddy bear. That's kind of cute.
Look, I think I have my other UCLA shirt has a bear on it.
So,
a broom bear.
Okay, but let's create our own internet. That's just stupid. But let me let me just say that you know, let's create our own social media sites. That's actually an interesting proposition. The problem is that so many people are on Facebook and YouTube right now. They have this fundamental huge power, which makes it difficult. I use Minds, which is a website that is sort of a censorship-free version, kind of sort of like Facebook and YouTube, and I really would encourage people to use it. It's just like this. Oh, is this the guy? This is the character from Toy Story, right? It kind of looks like the dinosaur in Toy Story. So, I would say that I would definitely say go onto Minds and subscribe to my channel. It might not have dinosaurs like this, but I think it's pretty cool. But the problem is that too many people are on those other sites. So I think fundamentally we do need to fix those websites and not just rely on, you know, alternatives.
Guys, 1 second. Do you notice how, like, I literally changed our faces to alligators and he was able to keep a straight face and continue talking about, like, what he's talking about?
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like there was a real question there. But what about payment processors or server hosts denying their services to alt social? Yeah, right. So this is part of the problem, is that the alternative social media sites also will deal with the problem, basically, of, you know, GoDaddy or Network Solutions or whoever that is hosting it. You know, those people can always take it down as well. So, I mean, even Tim Pool had a video recently about the issue of payment processors, that like Chase Bank actually removed somebody because a reporter from Slate reached out to them asking, do you know that this person banks with you, right? So this gets into some complicated stuff where like big tech isn't just about Facebook and YouTube and social media. You know,
people's banks
is banking a civil right, you know? These are challenging. So yeah, somebody mentioned Gab. Here's the problem with Gab. As a piece of technology, it's probably fine, but the issue with Gab is that it has specifically attracted one particular type of person who has been gone from social media. And I realized, and I had this conversation yesterday with someone. Someone said, "Well, I looked on Gab and I found lots of people with different opinions on Gab." Yeah, okay, but like
Gab themselves put out their own opinions.
Yeah, so
like explicitly.
Gab is seems to basically attract far right individuals, white nationalists, etc., and that's not the point, right? The point of YouTube, the point of Facebook, the point of Twitter is I want my work to be available to everybody to look at. I don't want to be sort of preaching to one particular group of people. And so that's why I would never use Gab. And Minds is a lot better, I think, just in the sense that when I go on Minds, I see left-wing stuff, I see right-wing stuff,
What's
I see
Minds?
libertarian and anarchist stuff. Minds was founded by Bill Ottman and Tim and Subverse. I see some people commenting about Tim and Subverse. Subverse posts all of its content on Minds. Tim has a profile on Minds. It's basically like Facebook or YouTube. The difference about it is that it is basically censorship free. Its community standard is basically in line with what you would consider to be fully liberal, and I mean that in the original sense of the term, free speech liberalism. Where basically anything is allowed. Hate speech, is not a problem in the sense that, I'm out there covering hate speech or whatever, right? And I know that Minds isn't going to take it down. They take down content that is threatening. They take down content that attacks individual people by posting their personal information, for example. I'm sure that they would ban child pornography if they ever had a problem with that, for example. But the interesting thing actually with them is that if someone's content is taken down on Minds and they appeal it, it will go to a jury of 12 other Minds users. And randomly picked people who are using the website who will look at the content, and in order to uphold the removal of the content, 9 or more of the Minds users out of 12, so 75%, have to say, yes, indeed, this thing shouldn't be allowed.
What's stopping them from saying no?
What's stopping them from saying no?
Because why would anyone care enough about somebody else's account to be like, yes, we should keep it?
Well, I think that this is why, Minds is the moderator that takes the stuff down in the first place. The idea is that the appeals process should be out of the hands of the big tech. Okay, someone is asking if it's Minds or Minds, like your mind is in your brain, MINDS.com. And if you wanted to find my profile, it's Ford Fischer on Minds, MINDS.com. Minds. And yeah, okay, someone says, I think there needs to be a big clarification of what the word liberal means. Yeah, liberal is actually one of my least favorite words because it means completely different stuff to different people. When I say liberal in the context of free speech, I mean that the classical liberal view of speech is essentially the First Amendment, right? It is the idea that
I'll be back.
Yep, that content or speech that is not specifically threatening should be basically allowed. It means the attitude that you have the right to say whatever you want, regardless of political ideology, so long as you're not, making specific threats to people or committing slander or libel, that sort of thing. And so Minds essentially reflects that basic point of view, that they're not willing to censor unless of something else. Someone said, what does the word progressive mean? I take the word progressive to mean in the American context essentially left of center left but still capitalist, meaning that the person does not believe in the political ideology of seizing the means of production, but they're as far left as they can be within the context of capitalism.
Do you think Minds is going to be big?
Yeah, Minds is growing, and I think it's growing in large part because of the sorts of frustrations that we're talking about here. I think that Minds will grow because of that, but I want to use Minds as a platform that I feel safe on from censorship, But I do not want it to be the only thing I use. I am not willing to say I'm just going to go onto an alternative social media platform when so many people are on Facebook and YouTube, right? I mean, the content, if I was only posting on Minds, people just wouldn't be able to, see things. Let me see where you're coming from. People are kind of arguing with each other in the comments. Someone said Cato describes itself as classical liberalism.
I'm on Parlay also. Are you on Parlay?
I didn't. People have just started talking. You're the third person, I think, to bring this up to me this week, but I hadn't heard of it before that.
Yeah, it's very new. It's like, everyone's going on Parlay. I actually have an account on Parlay and I haven't posted yet, but I want to start posting. And I've got a bunch of followers too, which is really cool. One of my friends shared my account. So I want to start posting too. Oh, can I see this? Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it looks like it's still working. We're down to only 30 people watching on they might have spread out to YouTube.
It's not you can't always tell.
Okay, whatever.
It's not always updated.
Yeah. So, okay, whatever. We can keep talking. Somebody says also if it's misspelled it takes you to
these people are YouTube.
Right, yeah. Liberal as an attitude describes one who wants to change things a bit more rapidly than a conservative. Yeah, I mean, so the word liberal has a lot of definitions really depending on who you ask, and the way that the term was used really changed in the 30s. It was FDR who claimed to be a liberal while adding a whole lot of social government programs, which is how the terms liberal and sort of progressive became known to mean like kind of the same thing. While traditionally that's not what they meant, right? Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson would be considered like liberals in their time. So that word is one that is pretty difficult. Pardes on parlor makes sense. Yes, I was actually going to make a joke about that, but it looks like someone beat me to it.
Pee! It's like pee-pee. Sorry.
Right. Commenters, what else do you want to hear about? The modern conservative tradition, yeah.
What do you want to hear from?
Oh, this is funny. Yes, this is usually what I do to other people. I give them the microphone and talk to them. This is kind of funny. Someone said, come on board for it. I think that person is referring to Parler. I'm spread too thin. I use Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Minds. I need to have a life. I can't just sit there for hours posting on every single social media page every time I film something. At a certain point, I need to just, say this is it. So for me, Minds is my alternative social media platform, and I don't really foresee that changing.
How many followers do you have on Minds?
Just shy of 1,000.
1,000? How long have you been on it?
Like a month?
Nice.
No, well, I very actively for a month.
And
I think maybe a little bit longer than that.
And how did you grow your following on Minds?
Yeah, I mean, so Minds is very interesting. So I have 859. There's my Minds profile, and you can see where's the little check mark? Oh, I can't. Oh, wait, there it is. You can see that I'm verified on Minds. Twitter still hasn't done it.
How'd you get verified on Minds?
It's really easy. If you make an account on Minds, I will be able to get you verified in under a week. I'll reach out to them and it'll happen.
So it's kind of like Twitter. It looks like Twitter.
So yeah, I mean you can scroll through it. I've posted clips of different stuff people basically talking about me and whatever. There's Ben Shapiro talked about me on his radio show. There's a story that included me in it, which had Alex Jones on the headline. But Minds basically, it functions like the other social media outlets, but the thing that's actually really cool about Minds is that instead of it being monetized based on ads, the thing that people can spend money on if they want is people on Minds can actually use these tokens. It has a cryptocurrency attached to it, and they're currently worth about 15 cents each, but each token is worth 1,000 views. So you can spend a token to get your post seen by 1,000 people. And when people like your work, they will send you tokens because they want you to be able to promote your work more and have more people see your stuff, and then you can send them. So you can promote it. So
how does someone, and they have to be on the platform in order to send you tokens?
I believe so. I don't know if somebody outside of Minds could send a Mind token. I'm actually not sure. But recently, for example, this week, I get a lot of small contributions. People will send me 5 tokens or 1 token or something. But earlier this week, someone sent me 100 tokens, which in US dollars is only worth $15. But in terms of the reach, with each token being worth 1,000 views, that will be 100,000 views that I'm able to promote my stuff, sort of like a Facebook boost, right? Imagine a Facebook boost that gets a reach of 100,000 people. That's how much that person essentially gave me with $15 worth of tokens sent to me. So that's how I've been able to promote my content.
So it's not really like cryptocurrency.
No, it is a crypto. I could sell it for $15 if I wanted to.
Like 15 tokens?
And get $15 out of it.
Really?
If I wanted to. So each token is worth 15 US cents. You could buy them using other crypto or US dollars for 15 cents a token, or you could sell them for the same price.
So interesting. My friends, have you heard of Everpedia?
I don't know. I'm
Everpedia
not sure.
is basically like a cryptocurrency run Wikipedia, and they probably have and my friends actually started it. I know the people who started it, and it got pretty big. They probably have a profile of you too. It's like your wiki page, but instead of it being moderated by like the Wikipedia moderators or whatever, it's moderated by the public. So anyone can join and like edit and whatever.
Isn't Wikipedia basically edited by the public?
Yeah, but there are a lot more restrictions on Wikipedia.
I see.
It's more controlled. And it's like people will rank each other based on like how good of an editor they are, and you get like tokens and when you join, and like you it's kind of
okay. Someone said a comment. Levi on YouTube says a comment that I want to respond to. Someone said conservatives are better off moving to a different platform, but there's no consensus on what that platform should be. I disagree. I do not think that people should go onto one specific site for one specific ideology. This is the problem that I just stated about Gab. The entire point of political discourse, the entire point of democracy, in fact, is that people are supposed to talk to each other. You are supposed to criticize each other. You are supposed to be able to interact with people who aren't, the same political ideology as you. Pardes and I have not talked on here about our own political ideologies, but I'm sure we could find some pretty severe differences. And that's fine. Yep. And yesterday, Pardes had on Steph Black, who I'm sure was very different from her and is very different from me, right? You have 3 different political ideologies represented in the last 2 days of Pardes Live. Yeah. So that's kind of how I think it should be. I think that those discussions are good.
I feel like all my friends are like that. All my friends have like such different political views.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, basically.
But like the one common thing between all of them is that like they're able to like be friends with people of other political views.
Right. I'm not going to be like, I'll never go on Pardes' live streams. She disagrees with me on stuff, and I think she voted for someone different than I did for president.
Don't want to be associated with her.
Right. So it's silly, right? I think that those conversations are good.
Yeah, and it's like...
So what is this? Why are you... Okay. All right. So to that end, no, I think that it's not a good idea to have a social media platform that is just for one side. I don't think you should have just a fish social media platform and someone else has just a steak platform and someone else has a vegetarian platform. No, I think that people should be able to communicate with each other on sites that are for everybody. And I don't know why Pardes is doing this to us.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Let's see what the other comments are saying. Just one more filter. Okay, God.
Pretty good.
Okay. Well, the phone told me to open my mouth, and then I did, and it didn't make any difference. And I feel like now I don't like that I did that. I don't. What is it? It's not doing anything. It's just okay.
Okay, that's it.
Now she's doing just one more. This one's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's we're underwater.
See, if big tech can come up with fun stuff like this, why do they have to be censors? Why do they have to do that?
Oh wow, there's so
Someone says, I hate having to sign up for new platforms. It's annoying remembering passwords. Yeah, I mean that's just one reason, right? I like to diversify. That's why I have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Minds. But I do not like the idea of doing a ton of different stuff. Someone keeps saying, "Hey Ford, what's your My Free Cam handle?"
Yeah, what's My Free Cams?
I don't know what that is.
What's My Free Cams?
Yeah, to the person who's writing that, like, what is that website? I don't have that, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, tell us what. David Rock says can't have a debate when one side is silenced.
Oh, for God's... Are you kidding me?
What?
I didn't get it. My free cams is porn. They're asking me where they can... Jesus Christ. I actually, it didn't even occur to me that that's what this commenter was trolling us with.
I didn't know what my
someone kept commenting, "What's your My Free Cams handle?" And then I was like, "What are you talking about? What is this?" And I looked it up. Okay, I feel like that's enough of the Candy beard and any of these other ones.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, God.
Sorry. Okay. It's weird.
I thought you meant something different when you said platform. Someone said, yeah. I mean, so guys, comment your ideas. I'm happy to, interact
Question
with
time.
people. I think this is a good Q&A time because we've gone over a lot of different stuff.
Anything that you don't understand about the Vox Apocalypse, about Ford, what happened to Ford, anything about social media, whatever. While
we wait for questions, I think that the biggest thing that I've really been trying to highlight for everybody is that I actually don't see censorship as a left or a right issue. Historically, if you go back to one of my favorite activists of all time is Mario Savio. Do you know who that is? Y'all watch Mario Savio. He was a free speech activist at Berkeley. He protested against the Vietnam War, and Berkeley wanted him to stop. They had problems with him. And so he gave this incredible speech. I will answer Felix's question. But he was a free speech activist, and he was widely considered to be on the left. Today, it might be the right wing that talks a lot about free speech stuff, but fundamentally, I think both sides have historically talked about this subject. Both sides should stand up to big tech censorship. Felix asks, Ford, what got you into filming events, and what was your first? Good question. So I've actually been doing video pertaining to government for a decade in a way. When I was 15, I actually got a job at my local cable station. I was in a small town called Boxford, Massachusetts, and we had local government meetings that I filmed for the local cable station.
Cool.
And even in a town of 8,000 people, the government officials hated being filmed. They would do stuff to try to prevent being filmed. They would say, we're going into an executive session. This is the time we can kick out the journalists, and stuff like that. And so that gave, I think, me this very early belief in the idea that video is really what holds anybody accountable, right? Good or bad, right? You film someone make the right call, and they should be happy about that. And you film someone make the right call, and I think that that's a good thing. Does Ford think it will get worse, more censorship with these corporations wanting to stop Trump 2020? Maybe, but I think it goes further than that. I actually don't think that big tech censorship is a consequence of Trump so much. I think that there's a political space right now where people are talking about it in a way that's encouraging them to do it. In some ways, Facebook might be saying, that they want to do censorship. YouTube might want to do censorship to avoid being regulated. They'll do the censorship so that the government doesn't do it for them. But I don't know that I attribute it to Trump 2020. I don't think that this or any really of these issues disappear when Trump is no longer the president.
What do you think of the antitrust thing?
Yeah.
Is it actually going to work? Are they actually going to go through with it?
Elizabeth Warren has talked about this. And, I think that Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, these guys have the lawyers and, the resources that I just don't think that any attempt by the government to claim that they should be broken up would really succeed.
Oh my god, the people in the comments
are just saying some really crazy stuff. So, yeah, no, I honestly, legislatively, I mean, I don't think that it'll actually happen. I don't think that the government will end up breaking up these corporations. I don't think that antitrust will really be invoked, no matter how much Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren want it to happen. I doubt it. I think the argument that I saw some people make, and I think Elizabeth Warren basically said this, but I could be wrong, but sort of in relation to the Elizabeth Warren suggestion, people had this idea that, Amazon, for example, should be broken up because it gets into too many different spaces of life. It delivers all of your stuff, your food, your, household supplies, DVDs, books, whatever. It's where you stream your movies online, and it's all, groceries, like just sort of that basically Amazon has, and then it's also selling you it's making and selling and delivering like the wire that charges your phone, for example. So there was this claim that, because Amazon has vertically and horizontally integrated too much, that maybe that would be a good contender for breaking it up. But I don't think that gets to the heart of the censorship issue. So I don't think that that's really going to happen.
Ultimately,
I don't know what direction this goes. I think it really matters how much people speak out. At the end of the day, we're primarily here talking about YouTube, but I guess this is true of all of them. All of these companies are in it for a profit, right? YouTube is going to try to make the most money it can, and so is Facebook, and so is Twitter. And that's okay. That's what corporations do. That's how capitalism works. That's how America works. Absent regulating them, which, like I said, I'm personally actually on the fence about, the thing that works is speaking up. It is having people say, I'm not going to watch YouTube when I know that what I'm watching is manipulated, when I know that YouTube is trying to take down independent voices like Ford and Pardes. Maybe not Pardes yet, but they will. They will.
Subscribe to my channel.
Before it's too late.
Don't subscribe to anybody else's channel. Just totally diss on YouTube, but just subscribe to my channel on YouTube.
Yeah, and mine.
And Ford's.
But nobody else's. I want to see everybody have exactly 2 channels they're subscribed to, and if it's not these 2, you're fired.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about speaking out. It's about making sure that these outlets know that you have a problem with this censorship and not letting that censorship be the new normal. Someone said YouTube's lack of transparency is the problem. I think that's true, actually. I agree.
Thanks for following me on
Dr. No. I agree with Dr. No, who commented YouTube's lack of transparency is the problem because, for example, when YouTube reached out to me, it was a form letter. I mean, they didn't have a human who wrote to me what exactly the problem is. They've never called me. They wouldn't give any kind of comment to even Rolling Stone and Forbes, who were writing about me. They have certainly a transparency problem, and I think that that's part of the issue. Can we get some real comments on here? Oh my god. You have a lot of just really useless comments on here, and I don't mean that about anybody in particular, but you guys probably know who you are as I'm saying that. Someone said, I just subbed. Awesome. I hope that means you subscribe to both of us.
Yes.
And again, by the way, our content is totally different. Pardes is on camera. She has this bubbly personality that she's in her videos.
Important guests
and she has guests like me. But my videos, you actually don't really see me in my channel very much.
My videos are way more important. Ford's videos are eh. Mine are woo! Mine are behind the scenes. We bring Ford on and he talks about how he actually does all this
stuff. But so let me really say, I actually think that they're complementary. I think that it's important for people to be able to have conversation. Of course, obviously.
Ford is just as special.
I'm just as almost as special. No, being able to have it's different things. It's conversations like this one, and then that raw footage. I think that those things are complementary. I don't want the story to end at my work. I do the raw footage so that people can talk about it, so that people can analyze it and have conversations.
Yeah, and honestly, we wouldn't have anything to talk about if not for the stuff that Ford puts out there. like, really all my favorite stuff to talk about are, like, these things that happen. Like,
yeah. And I invite her to Pardes. So the Pardes live will literally just turn into like commentary about News to Share stuff. She'll just sit there watching it. I had this actually happened a couple weeks ago. There was a fairly prominent conservative, constitutional conservative kind of radio host who
Ford is special.
Ford is special.
Like,
someone put it in quotes.
needs.
Why would
like
you say that?
Special needs. Remember that?
Okay.
Remember the special needs?
What are you saying?
Remember when we like Andrew and
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Tell me later. Okay, I had a real comment to make. I did a live stream a few weeks ago in Dayton, Ohio.
Ford is very special.
Thank you. I did a live stream recently in Dayton, Ohio, and actually as I was doing that live stream, there was a conservative commentator who actually did a live stream of himself watching my live stream and narrating it with his own commentary, which was really interesting. And it was so funny because the guy hated me so much. He was like, Ford's work is a compilation of dumb dumminess. It was like an actual thing he said. It was hysterical. And he was like, I think because I was filming these communists and socialists carrying rifles and stuff. And he was like, yeah, Ford's kind of a socialist or a communist type of person. And like, after I found this video, I was like, dude, what? And I reached out to him and I explained, no, man, I just show what people are talking about. I ask questions. You know, I try to get their perspectives. Me filming a socialist, me filming a communist doesn't make me one of those things. Someone says, have you ever gotten punched while filming? People have threatened to. I've been hit in the neck with a flagpole. I've been maced several times and I've had urine thrown on me. I've actually never just been like punched. That actually hasn't happened.
And it's crazy how many people like shoot the messenger. It's like you're just I
just film stuff.
Yeah, like...
I just film stuff.
Ford, and when you see Ford at any of these events, he's not even...
One of these comments. Someone said, Ford, you look like a Trotskyite. That is not true. Marshall says, urine, ? Yeah, so search News to Share, news, the number 2, share, Providence, Rhode Island, and you'll be able to find the video that I'm talking about. When I was in Providence, Rhode Island, I filmed a confrontation between a right-wing coalition that included the Proud Boys and Antifa. And Antifa tactics included that they sprayed paint at a bunch of people. I didn't get paint on me, but it was this bright white paint. And they also got, they had a bottle of urine, and they poured urine on me twice. Someone said Ford is an exceptionally gifted dude. Thank you. That's nice of you.
That's what they say about special needs children.
Oh. Well, I don't know if that person's making fun of me, but I'm going to assume it's a compliment and accept the compliment. But if you meant it as an insult, then, who cares? That's how free speech works.
But it really is like shooting the messenger.
Someone said Ford is legit. I will take that one. I'm pretty sure that's a real, actual compliment. I appreciate that. Ford is legit. I saw someone commented that I'm like a 5. Someone said like Ford is like a 5.
And I'm a 9.
And Pardes is a 9. Yeah. No comment, but...
They have my back.
But it goes exactly with this theme. Like I said, someone literally made a fan page about me on Facebook that's called Ford Fischer is okay. I think it's the funniest thing in the world that I'm not, because I'm not like one side or the other or whatever, that it's just sort of like, sincere down the middle journalism. That like I'm just okay, that I'm like a 3 out of 5 or a 5 out of 10.
I think people are just not used to it. People are not used to seeing like a real journalist. Yeah. People have forgotten what a real journalist looks like. They're not used to seeing someone like Ford like actually just literally he actually does not care. I mean, he does, like, he's got his own stuff.
I care.
No, he's got his own views, but it's like when he's out there, he's actually not.
So someone commented, I like the fact that I can't tell your political orientation. That I think I've been actually very careful about that. That in this live stream, I don't think you'd be able to tell whether I am left or right or libertarian or anarchist or something else.
He doesn't make his money that way, like because a lot of journalists now, they their bread and butter is politics.
Is like picking a side, yeah, right. Like nobody second guesses what Rachel Maddow's political orientation is, or Sean Hannity, right? They're not journalists; they're commentators, and a lot of journalists really like tread that line, and I just don't. And by the way,
people aren't used to that. They see you and they assume like you must have
right.
this.
And so I have 2 important things to say about that. First of all, the fact that I don't put my political beliefs into my reporting doesn't mean that I don't have them. In fact, you could go to my personal Facebook page, and in my About page, it says what political party I'm a member of. You're welcome to do that if you want to, but I'm not going to say it on here. The reason I'm saying that is it's public. You can pretty much... No. Someone says Stranahan is the best journalist I know. I go on Lee Stranahan's show at least once a month, actually, in studio. Yeah.
In the radio show in DC?
Yeah, he invites me on there. I go on there a lot. So if people like Stranahan, again, Stranahan has some very specific political views that I'm not necessarily saying that I engage in those in particular, but I have very good conversations with him. He's a very interesting person to talk to. Dr. No loves you, no homo. That's nice. And it would be okay if it was homo. That's okay. This is America. Okay. But the point I was going to make...
Ford loves it when you hit on him.
That's not true. Please don't.
Or no.
Look, so first of all, people have been asking where do I subscribe.
Ford loves it when men hit on him.
Stop it. Okay, my channel on YouTube is News to Share, News the number 2 Share. My channel on Facebook is the same. And on Twitter, I'm at Ford Fischer, FORDFISCHER. The same thing is true on Minds and Facebook. The thing I was going to say is there's a huge difference between, this is what people just can't wrap their heads around this. There's a huge difference between neutrality and objectivity. When someone is neutral, then they are saying that two opinions are equal to one another. When I go out there and I film two people arguing, with each other, like on Friday, you were there when at an LGBT march on Friday night, there was a debate over whether the Star of David should be allowed on a rainbow flag at the event, and there were people debating that on both sides.
Isn't that crazy?
Me filming that situation is showing both sides of it. Me talking to both sides of that is showing both sides of it, but I'm not making the claim that one side is better than the other, but that also doesn't make me neutral, because I'm not making the claim that the two sides are the same. It's objective. I'm showing objectively this is what they're doing, and if I have an opinion on it, I consider that to be irrelevant to my journalism. So I invite people to figure out what my political party is. Like I said, it is public knowledge. You can figure it out, and you can compare it to the work that I do, and tell me if you think that that my work is guided by it. I would argue that it's not, and I'm basically never accused of bias. People accuse me of platforming. People accuse me of it being a problem that I film people that they don't like. Both sides do that to the other side. People also sometimes get mad when I film their side doing something that they think is bad and makes them look bad. I cover everybody, all sides, all the time in a raw and objective and honest way, and that, in my mind, has nothing to do with what my personal politics are.
Right. It's the difference between your personal stuff and your work.
Yeah.
And you make your money by being objective, not by...
Someone said I've seen Ford retweeted before. He's kind of Glenn Greenwald-ish. Glenn Greenwald voiced his support for me, which was hugely appreciated by me. But Ben Shapiro also did, and Antifa also did. So I don't...
You got all your bases
So
covered.
The far left, the far right, and everywhere in between has really been supportive of me during this, which has meant a whole lot to me. So if other people have more, questions, I'm happy to continue on the Q&A. Someone says, Stranahan doesn't report according to his political views, voted Trump, but critical stories. Okay, it is... When I go onto the radio show, I go physically into Sputnik Radio, their studio, and the show is called Fault Lines with Nixon and Stranahan. It's Garland Nixon, who's a former cop, who's a progressive, and it's Stranahan, who refers to himself as a populist Republican who used to work at Breitbart. He has an obvious political orientation, and he argues those points. But I think that it goes to journalism. I think that it creates interesting conversations. It's just a very different style of journalism than what I do. I wish we could have more political parties than Ford has buttons undone on his shirt. That's very funny. But I'll say a serious comment about that. Yeah, I think that the two-party system actually creates a lot of problems. Someone said, are you calling Ben far right? No, I am not. I did not call Ben Shapiro far right. That is misconstruing my words. I think that the two-party system actually creates part of this issue, where you have the Republicans and you have the Democrats, and you're told, oh, those are the two sides. If you have to agree with one of those or the other one of those. And that creates this left-right divide in the United States that I think creates an unhealthy mainstream media, where you're told you have basically two possible opinions, and and that those are the only two sort of things that you can get.
Felix's question. Felix says, who would you like to see restored to social media YouTube?
Me. I guess I would like for myself to be remonetized. I mean, I guess I can be sort of like that. But, you know, I guess I can't reply with a specific person, but I'll say this. I think that the person that was hurt, or the type of person that was hurt during the Vox-adpocalypse that I actually felt the most bad for, is a lot of history teachers got hit.
Yeah.
A lot of people who teach history in elementary, middle, and high schools and colleges, they have YouTube channels that they base their curriculum on, where they've spent serious time putting together a YouTube channel that has historical footage on it. And some of that includes things that happened, you know, in World War II and so forth that are violent, that express obviously hateful ideology, of course, but they are crucial to understanding history. And this is what I think is sort of a great irony about all of this, is YouTube wants to ban Holocaust denial, but then they are actually taking down content that talks about the horrors of World War II. That YouTube, in a way, is engaging in a form of denial of history and denial of the political situation that we are in now. And so, I mean, I realize that that's a very serious and sort of sad comment. I almost feel emotional saying it, and someone said ridiculous. But ridiculous scrubbing, oh, they agree with me. Yeah, I think that YouTube is scrubbing history. I think YouTube is deleting aspects of current events and history that are uncomfortable and difficult to talk about. And I think that that's a really ill-informed thing to do, because those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. That's not a Ford Fischer original quote. I've heard that. Lots of people say that all the time. Someone commented that they don't like the fact that one of Pardes' lights that's like a little asymmetrical is over there. You know, so yes, I'm covering it. Yeah, someone else had a question that I really wanted to...
which one are you getting more... Diacritical one, which one are you getting more hate from, right or left?
That's a really good question. So I guess I don't know. I think that the criticism from both sides tends to be a frustration over you filmed the people who we consider to be the baddies in a way that is not critical enough of them. I'm just documenting what they say for the sake of anyone else to be able to criticize and analyze, but I don't go out there and argue with one side or another. I just film it. So I get criticism on both sides of people saying, you know, you didn't push back on them enough. Someone said, I have to pee, but this stream is too good.
Don't pee! Just keep it in, or find, like, a cup nearby, if you're a guy, or a girl.
Or a girl. Don't be...
Or a girl.
Sexist.
You could also...
You should be banned from YouTube for saying that. You just discriminated. You implied that only men can pee into cups.
Well, you could...
Everyone report this video. No, just kidding. Don't do that.
Have you heard of the pee cup for girls? Where you, it's like
No.
It's kind of like a catheter, and you,
Oh my God.
you could like pee standing if you have it. If you're like going camping and you're in a forest and stuff, and you can just like pee standing.
All right. Someone said get a towel later. Someone said I go in cups. Well, this conversation has gotten interesting. Someone said take the phone into the bathroom.
Yeah, why would you take a phone to take a
Oh,
phone?
he said he already peed. Where? Comment.
No, this
let
is
us know how.
a different person.
Oh, that's a different person.
Yeah,
I thought it was the person who said that they didn't want to leave the stream, and it took like 2 seconds, and they're back. It's like, oh wow, good job, guys. Someone said just don't throw it at Ford. That's funny. That went full circle.
You could take the phone. I take the phone with me to the bathroom all the time. In fact, I've taken selfies and posted them to Instagram on the toilet.
What?
Yeah.
You've taken selfies of yourself on the toilet?
And posted it to Instagram, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Go check on my Instagram.
Why would you do that? This is why I don't have Instagram. It turns people crazy.
Go check my...
It turns people like Pardes into crazy people.
Yeah, no, you'll see it.
MAGA Mike says my girlfriend has one of those. Good for you, MAGA Mike.
Oh my gosh. MAGA Mike? Is that the MAGA Mike?
What?
Okay, I have to double check who MAGA Mike is.
There's a comment that says what looks like a real question. Someone just said heading to Instagram. That's funny. There's always something on the horizon. The comments are making it go away. Someone writes, there's always something on the horizon, whether a new militia group or terrorism. Where do you think the next main threat will come from, home or abroad? That's an interesting question. You know, I think that there has been a shift in most terrorist movements towards we're shifting toward a really serious subject, but I was asked about this on I-24, and I've done a considerable amount of research on this subject. I think that there's been a shift in many radical violent movements, terrorist movements, towards what is called like leaderless resistance, where, for example, Donald Trump has very proudly declared the fact that he has eliminated ISIS, like in as far as like territory goes. But people who are ideologues of ISIS are still all over the place, doing individual terrorist acts. And so someone said, will the next terrorist act come from foreign or domestic? I mean, I can't make a prediction about that, but I think that the tactical shift that we're generally watching happen is that there is a lot of these individual, tragic mass shooting cases and stuff that seem to be individuals who are sort of radicalized by groups into doing something, online or whatever it is, but they themselves sort of acted alone, without actual co-conspirators in sort of a formal sense. Any other questions? Carlos advocates physically. Yeah, okay, so I'll paraphrase. Somebody mentioned the fact that Carlos Maza has advocated for throwing milkshakes at people who he considers to be white supremacists, and a lot of people have pointed out that in addition to that, his Twitter bio says Tucker Carlson is a white supremacist. So in so doing, he seems to imply that people should throw things.
He blocked me, and I'd never heard of him before. The first time I heard of him, I go to his page, and I see that he blocked me. It's like, I never heard of this person. Why did he block me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, I've been pointing out, I really think that the problem is these big. I'll answer reactionary rags question.
Okay.
The big problem is the corporations. The problem isn't the individual who calls for censorship, because tons of individuals do it, and usually they don't succeed. It's the big corporations that are the problem. Someone asked, what's the most difficult thing that you've ever had to film? Again, on a very serious note, I filmed the violence in Charlottesville over the course of the 3 days, really, that violence occurred, and that included the death of Heather Hare.
He filmed that. He was right there, like, right in front of it, and he saw everything.
Yeah, and
all the gory stuff. He got that.
Yeah.
And he, not only did he film it, but he experienced it right there. I can't imagine just watching someone bleed. And
it was really difficult, and I will say that it is especially difficult from an emotional perspective because I have to re-explore that situation so often, because so many news outlets, PBS has licensed from me a ton of times. So have other networks, films, Vice, I mean, really every network you can think of. Even actually just literally today, MSNBC was advocating that their film called Breaking Hate get a Emmy nomination, and my footage is in that film. So I've just had to re-explore that situation a lot of times, and that's been really difficult for me. One of the things, someone said, were you scared? I guess this will be a personal thing. Pardes was talking about how I'm able to... that Pardes is able to get people to say stuff that's like more personal in the setting of her live streams and such. So it is really hard. On the day of Charlottesville, I remember that while I was filming the violence in the morning, so not when people are dying, but when people are hitting each other with sticks and stuff, I remember feeling like, wow, I've filmed so much of this stuff that I'm actually kind of like able to like kind of glide through it, and I'm adrenaline rushed because I'm thinking about my own safety and moving around quickly and all that kind of stuff. And I got maced twice and a flagpole in my neck, but but I wasn't like really like deeply scared. I wasn't deeply emotional. I was doing the job that I had to do. And that was sort of, this was what I had to do. And you can see my appearances I had a total of 20 minutes of screen time on CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, had me as their on-air talent that day. And, you can see that I'm stressed and I'm exhausted and stuff, but I wasn't like terrified. I wasn't emotional and what have you. And when I filmed Heather die, that was what was really difficult for me. And someone actually made fun of me on Twitter later, which was really hurtful. But they made fun of a clip of that I had been tearing up, that I didn't realize that as I was reporting it, that I started crying a little bit. And, and somebody tweeted, implying that I was fake crying because, it was CIA orchestrated, all this just like sort of crazy bullshit. But it became really real in that moment. It became really disturbing. It became really upsetting because it was the only time that people didn't just go home at the end of the day. I'd been to so many situations where people are doing all kinds of violence to each other, throwing bricks at each other, blooding each other up, and what have you. And that was the only time, and it's still the only time, that I saw somebody die. And that has been difficult to deal with since then. I will say that the thing that has helped me, I think, reconcile that situation is that Heather Hare's mom, Susan Bro, she attended the premiere of the PBS documentary about Charlottesville that I ultimately Associate produced, and she has voiced her support for my work on several occasions, even in the midst of someone just asked, what were we talking about? We're talking about Charlottesville that I filmed, the violence there, including the death of Heather Hare. Heather's mom actually tweeted out about how what I do is an important part of democracy, and that YouTube made the wrong decision to censor me because of that. So this is somebody who is obviously deeply affected. She lost, her daughter to violence because of these sorts of situations, and she wants that footage out there to understand why it happened. So that has been something that's been meaningful to me, is knowing that, disturbing as it was, that was a situation that I think it was to the public's benefit and to justice's benefit that I was there.
And you said, I think you said, do you still like have visions of it? Like,
I'm not going to say that on here.
Okay.
I'm not going to describe. I'm not going to let the internet attempt to psychoanalyze me. But suffice it to say, it's difficult to watch somebody die in the course of your work.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, to be honest, I've never experienced it. I worked in a hospital operating room, and even that was freakish.
Yeah. Okay, someone said, what type of camera do you use? I use a Sony 4K camcorder, which is pretty cool. I mostly film in 1080p, not 4K, because of to make the file sizes smaller so that I can actually fit stuff. Someone says conflict journalism is hard, real hard, at least for normal non-sociopaths. That's for sure. Someone says, what are your thoughts on Venezuela? I would definitely recommend. I did a two-part documentary piece for Subverse about this, and I have an entire playlist on my channel of all of my coverage of the conflict that happened at the Venezuelan embassy. Which is where there was a sort of proxy fight between people who support Juan Guaido and people who support Nicolas Maduro. And so that turned into a very interesting situation where there was this kind of standoff where the Trump administration recognized Juan Guaido, but the Maduro government invited in these activists. Pardes was there one night, actually.
Yeah.
Invited in these activists to sort of stay and occupy the space.
Out.
I wasn't kicked out. They were. But
Cassandra.
But it was interesting because those activists were basically fighting this like weird proxy, and it took weeks before there were ultimately 2 raid attempts to take them out, and the second raid attempt worked. The second raid attempt removed the final 4 activists who were attempting to barricade the Venezuelan embassy.
Diacritical One saw your series on Subverse.
Oh yeah, cool. Thank you, Diacritical One. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, we're almost at 2 hours.
2 hours? This has been so fun, though.
Yeah. I'm so glad you guys are still here.
It's cool that you guys listen into Pardes. What do you think of Pardes? It's awesome that she's been able to get all this YouTube support so quickly.
It's all thanks to the YouTube people. Like, everyone subscribe to YouTube, because YouTube is where I started doing this, and then I started doing Periscope. Yes, Code Pink. It was Code Pink.
Yeah. Code Pink was one of the organizations. There were really 3 of them. It was Code Pink, the Answer Coalition, and a group called I almost said Pardes Resistance. Popular Resistance. Do you think the police should have done a better job of separating the opposing sides in Charlottesville? Someone commented. Yes. Yes, I've spoken pretty extensively about that. The police basically caused what happened. The police didn't separate the two sides from the beginning, and when they started fighting, which was basically inevitable, the police pushed them into each other when they declared a state of emergency, rather than pushing them apart. And pushing them into each other made the violence a lot more horrific. It caused one person to fire a gun, and that person was prosecuted in part based on my footage of him pointing a gun at a crowd twice a few minutes before he fired it.
Wow.
And I filmed that like over his shoulder, which was so it was really scary because like he didn't fire it, but like for a moment I was like, am I gonna have like over the shoulder like practically video game style footage like of like murder? Like I mean, it was really scary that moment. And then of course Heather died, right? I mean, so all of those, in my opinion, were basically a result of the police pushing the two sides into each other, rather than not just not separating them, but actually pushing them into each other was insane. And I would recommend that people read what was called the Heafy report. That's spelled Heaphy. Heafy was an independent lawyer who did a long report detailing what caused the violence in Charlottesville. Someone said, Ford, what do you hope to achieve in the future? I want to continue doing News to Share, and it's a huge setback to have a large part of the revenue of that taken away because of lost ad revenue. But I would like to expand it to the point where I can hire more people to do what I do. Right now, I hire people sometimes when there's an event that it just doesn't financially make sense for me to go, and I have them do what I do for my channel. But I would love to make it like a bigger network. It would be awesome if I could have, someone asked about the spelling, Heaphy. I would love to have much more different streamers and stuff sort of working for me. I think that that's sort of the long-term goal. I don't want to grow into a personality that gets bought out by a corporation or something, because that, in my opinion, that's the enemy, right? I want to continue to be independent, but I'm happy to keep growing this
all over the world,
and continue with these same principles.
You have like people like working for you, and then there's always going to be someone on on the scene of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I'd love to have a correspondent that I can trust at every major city. That would be awesome.
That would be
I mean, when I left France, I ended up with a few different people who agreed that they could potentially be live streamers for me. One of them ended up doing that. So every now and again, I do have somebody live stream for me from Paris.
From Paris, wow.
During the LFS protests, yeah.
That's really cool. All right. Anything else you'd like to say?
Go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Ford Fischer, FORDFISCHER. My name's Ford Fischer, and the outlet is called News to Share. You can find all of that stuff at both Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and as well as Minds, as we talk about, MINDS, Minds. And I think Pardes just threw on another filter of some kind that we're going to finish off the evening with here. So
Minds.
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 Yes. That's how you spell it. Oh, what are these? I don't understand what this is.
These are all the hearts that we're getting from people.
We have not gotten that many. That's not true.
Like this video a lot. And if you're on Periscope, you have to just keep hitting the hearts as to compensate for you not being subscribed on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But anyway, follow Ford on Minds at Ford Fischer, FORDFISCHER.
Good for you. Yes, that is how you spell it.
Join him on Patreon because he is demonetized from YouTube. Join him on Patreon because that's how you can help him continue to do what he does. Mm-hmm. And keep contacting YouTube at Team YouTube and complain about it. I mean,
yes, absolutely. And if you tag me and at Team YouTube and you complain about it, telling them that my work is for the purposes of history, news, and critical analysis, if you do a tweet like that and it's a good, nice, well-formatted tweet that might change their mind, I will retweet you.
He will retweet you and you'll become famous.
Yes. That's how it works. I retweet you and then you're famous just immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So don't forget to do that. Subscribe, like this video, and see you all tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I will announce the guest tomorrow. The guest that we have tomorrow night has worked in Guantanamo. Do you know that?
I know who this is.
And he will talk to us about his experience working in Guantanamo. And you all have to be there. Okay. Have a good night. Piano later. We'll do piano a different time. Thank you. Bye, guys!